Hello everyone, welcome to Richmond, Virginia. It's time for our special preview of Pro Tour Dominaria. Rich Hagan sitting alongside Maria Bartholdi and Paul Cheon from Inside R&D. Let's get right to business. Paul, we open with draft. What is the feeling within R&D about this Dominaria draft format?
Well, we think that this format is slightly slower than limited formats that we've had in the past. So I'm really excited to see just these big bogged down board states and just trying to parse through what can happen, because oftentimes when you have situations like that, the better player ends up winning.
All right, what about standard? So it's been a while since we've had a standard Pro Tour, and we've had a while too with this metagame. Some would say it's kind of established. So are we going to see new decks, do you think, or are we going to see pros mastering decks that have been around for a while?
I think you can go both ways. I think because the standard format's been out for a little bit longer, people know exactly what decks to target. Decks like the black-red deck or the blue-white control deck. But at the same time, that also leaves room for innovation. It's like, well, if I only want to build a singular deck to be those two decks, what would it be? And, there might be some decks that actually surprise you.
Well, as we say, we're going to start with Limited, and the Draft Master competition is going to come to a climax here at Pro Tour Dominaria. Let's take a look at the leaderboard for you. And Elias Watsfeldt of Sweden leads the way by 2 full rounds. Remember, there's only 6 limited rounds to come. He's on 36 points. That's a 12-0 perfect record across 4 drafts so far this season. Then you've got Wesco, Hein, and Pascal Viren of Belgium. A couple of Pro Tour champions and a former national champion from Belgium there. And then a ton of players on 27 points. But realistically, they all need to go 6-0. Elias Watsfeldt, if he gets to 5-1, will be your draft master. But to do that, he will need to navigate this Dominaria draft format. For more on that, let's talk to Marshall Sutcliffe and Simon Gertzen.
Thank you, Rich. So, Simon, we've just got a couple of minutes here to chat Dominaria. First things first, we've had this set for a little bit longer than normally leads into a Pro Tour. How does that change things from the players' perspectives?
The players really know what they're doing by now. It's not like somebody picks up a booster and doesn't know how to evaluate a certain rare or uncommon. And we have really powerful cards in this set. Legends, historic permanents, sagas. So it's really about getting a lot of value from each of your individual cards.
Right, and that is one of the things that they're going to be focusing on. Now, we heard from Paul at the desk just a minute ago say this format's a little slower than ones recently. How's that going to change things for the players?
Things are a lot more open-ended. You can choose your colors more flexibly. You can splash more greedily. I mean, a format where you can first pick Skittering Surveyor just has to be awesome, right? And
absolutely.
I think the big thing is Kicker. Kicker has been around earlier, but it's a subtle thing. Suddenly you can play those 18, 19, maybe even 20 mana sources in your decks, and you don't get punished. You get rewarded for having plays on turn 2 and 3 that are not spectacular but decent, and then on turn 6, 7, 8, you really have a lot of late game potential.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the hallmarks of a great limited format, is not just the early game stuff or the specific strategies, but ones that are a little bit more forgiving to an early and a late game as well.
I think it's actually kind of difficult. You have to evaluate these kicker cards a lot higher than you would think. You don't have to see this is a 3 mana 2/3, okay, but being this flexible and powerful is really a high upside.
Right, so that's what the players are going to be looking at here for the draft portion. Thanks, Simon. Sending back to the news desk.
Thanks so much, Marshall and Simon. So this is also a big Pro Tour for teams. And the reason for that is because the top 16 teams at the end of this Pro Tour will qualify all of their members for Pro Tour 25th anniversary in Minneapolis, my hometown, coming up in August. And of course, we've got Musashi, who won last year in 2nd, Ultimate Guard in 1st. So it's a pretty tight race. Brian David Marshall has more.
Thanks, Maria. We're going to do our first team talk of many this weekend, and we're going to start right at the very top with Team Ultimate Guard. And when you think about the team series, this is the team you are imagining at the top of the standings. You look at it, 3 Hall of Famers on the team, and William Jensen, Paul Rietzel, 4, Owen Turtenwald and John Finkel. You've got Reed Duke coming off of a Pro Tour top 8, and of course Andrew Cuneo there, who's just been so successful for so many years playing this game. 92 pro points towards their standing in the Pro Tour Team Series, and they are in first place. And they were really close last year, and kind of got pushed back in the last Pro Tour of the year, and got as we saw teams trying to scrap their way into that top 4. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they can close over the next couple of events here. In second place right now is Team Musashi, and this is the team that won the first Pro Tour Team Series. But a little interesting wrinkle for this team at this event, Teruya Kukame is not here. He is not qualified for this Pro Tour. They only have 5 members. So, those members are Yuya Watanabe, Shota Yasuoka, Ken Yukihiro coming off of a Pro Tour top 8, Yuki Ichikawa, and Kentaro Yamamoto. And of course, they won last year. And, they're in second place right now with 89 points. Seems very, very likely that Kukame will get qualified for the next Pro Tour because they seem almost certain to be in the top 16 when the dust settles at the end of the weekend. Now, when Musashi played in the finals of the first Pro Tour Team Series, they played against Team Genesis. And Team Genesis is really, they really want to get back there. They really felt like they have some unfinished business in the Pro Tour Team Series. Team is largely the same. Corey Baumeister, the brother of Brad Nelson, is a big new addition to the team this year. Of course, Seth Manfield really doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the team early on with his big win at the Pro Tour to start this season, 85 pro points for Team Genesis. And in fourth place right now is Team Haruya Latin. And again, you've got a Pro Tour winner doing a lot of the heavy lifting in Luis Salvato. He just won the last Pro Tour. I had a chance to talk to him earlier this week about his win. Also on that team, Lucas Esper-Bertu. And you may remember in the last round of Swiss at Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan, he and Luis faced off against each other. One of them was guaranteed to get into the top 8. But, a top 16 finish for Lucas there, following up on his win from a couple seasons ago. So, this is a powerhouse team. They've got 83 points. And one of the really interesting things about Haruya Latin, this is a team that has just continually done well over the last 2 seasons, is they're one of the few teams in the Pro Tour Team Series that has a team manager. This is someone who is not a player. You'll talk to teams all the time about playing in one of these events, and they have someone on the team who basically shoulders the burden of getting them to the event and getting everybody in one place at the same time. And really, that does come at the expense of that player's results. It has to take some of their focus away. Haruya Latin is one of the teams that uses a manager, and we'll hear more about them over the course of the weekend and expect to see continued great results from them.
All right, thanks very much, Brian. Great stuff. Now, Constructed Master, that happens in the afternoons. Friday and Saturday morning is draft. Friday and Saturday afternoon is Constructed. Let's take a look at the Constructed Master leaderboard. John Rolfe, Team Metagame Guru's son, is just in the lead by a single point. 49 points come from the constructed rounds from the first 2 Pro Tours. Then it's Brian Brown doing former world champion Emanuel Gershenson of Austria. And then amongst the 45s, the Hall of Famer Ben Stark, perhaps the best known of those, of course, around with Christian Hauck, Jelko Bodovez of the Netherlands, and Matt Severa of the USA. But how will they go about navigating 10 rounds of Dominaria standard? For that, it's back to the video wall, Tim Willoughby and Riley Knight.
So Riley, of course, 10 rounds of Constructed and of our top 8 are all going to be 75 card decks. Dominaria having a big impact on what people are choosing to play this weekend. You were at Grand Prix Birmingham alongside myself. Which deck really stands out to you as something you would be playing if you were in this event?
Very easy question, Tim. Obviously, not anyone who has ever had any kind of interaction with me at any level will know that I'm a dyed-in-the-wool blue-white mage, and so I'm very, very happy that Teferi, the hero of Dominaria, is up and about and ready to crack some skulls this weekend. Huge impactful cards from Dominaria across the entire standard format, Tim, and we've really seen the format kind of crystallise recently. Established decks that we expect to see more and more of throughout the weekend, black-red vehicles, black-white aggro, blue-white control, but I think the thing to watch here is this weekend we're going to see the best version of all of these decks.
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of time for people to really iterate towards perfection, both in terms of the cards they're playing and the way that they're playing them. The deck I'm really hoping to see a lot of is some variation on red-black, and that's one of the lists that we saw a lot of in Birmingham. We're likely to see quite a bit of this weekend too, where there is a lot of room in terms of what you actually want to do for the details. Do you go low to the ground with Bomat Courier? Do you maybe go a little bit higher end with your power level, but at the cost of being not quite as fast. Like, I love the fact that we're going to get a chance to see the perfect version of some of these decks. And even in blue-white, I mean, how many win conditions do you want in your blue-white deck?
Well, I want 0, of course. I mean, that's the correct number to have. Teferi is enough to win the game on his own. But, of course, we see Approach the Second Sun. We see Torrential Gearhulk. We see Gideon of the Trials. And these are some of the technology, pieces of technology that come in and out of these lists. But, Tim, it's not only in these sort of established lists that we've seen very interesting technology emerge. And you and I, you know, we get a bit of a peek behind the scenes. I know we can't say too much here, but you and I both expecting some pretty premium draft chaff to appear in the decks of some of the best players in the room in the tournament this weekend. And I know that there are going to be some spicy brews on the tournament floor this weekend as well.
Oh yeah, very much some real humdingers that we're going to see this weekend. My hands, they're already sweaty with excitement and everything that we're going to see this weekend, because in addition to the standard that we know, there's a few slightly less standard cards being played here in Dominaria.
Thanks so much, Tim and Riley. Well, Pro Tour Dominaria kicks off bright and early tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. For Rich, Paul, and myself, see you back here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., ready to battle.